Today is the 31st Sunday of Ordinary Time. Our Gospel text is Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 through 12. Jesus speaks very disparagingly to the crowds and to his disciples about the scribes and the Pharisees. Now, it's worth noting that both Mark and Luke also have a similar passage, except they don't mention the Pharisees. It is only Matthew that is explicit in saying the Pharisees are the object of this criticism. This probably reflects the ongoing tension throughout Matthew's Gospel between Jesus and the Pharisees. Some scholars also suggest, convincingly to my way of thinking, that Matthew is probably here reflecting the situation 40 years after the death of Jesus in the community to which he's speaking. Whatever the case may be, it is clear from all the Gospels that there are issues between Jesus and the religious authorities. More specifically, Jesus' criticism of the Pharisees, no matter to whom the criticism is directed, prompts an awareness of motivation, a reflection on why we do things, the why of our lives, most specifically, what motivates us. By way of contrast and by way of background for this reflection, listen to these words of some of the faithful people throughout the Bible, people faithful to the covenant. First of all, Samuel, speak, for your servant is listening. Isaiah, here am I, send me. Mary, here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word. And Jesus, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to complete his work. Hold these statements up against the yearning for longer tassels, places of honor, being treated obsequiously and claiming special title. And I think you get some sense of what Jesus was concerned about. It's easy for us to be caught up in the superficial, even the trivial. It's well for us to think what motivates us so that we can move at depth towards the depths. It's easy enough, especially when we're setting out in life, to be motivated by processes, events, things that seem very important at the time, but in hindsight aren't very important. Motivations such as status, power, security, acceptance, possessions. I would suggest that it's probably normal to go through this, at least at the outset of our lives. But it's also good, perhaps necessary, that we get beyond that kind of motivation, that we work to release, to discover a motivation that we haven't fabricated, that we've discovered. Motivation deep within our beings. We can and should do this work and grow beyond the superficial motivations. But it does take work. And the primary work is cutting through the thicket of unreality that envelops most of us by the time we reach adulthood. A thicket of unreality that can conceal motivations that are superficial, maybe motivations that are obstacles, maybe even motivations that are life-denying. These kinds of motivations will stop us from achieving our best possibilities as human beings. Discovering What moves our being? What is it within us that moves us in life? That's a major task. There are people in history, I believe, and indeed people who walk amongst us today, who've discovered that motivation, that cry of the depths of their being. We might call it conscience, vocation, but it's definitely beyond the superficial, deep, and it doesn't come accidentally or easily. These people exhibit a strong sense of integrity, amongst other things, and an inclination to care and concern for their fellow travelers. Their motivation is self-transcending. The motivation is outward moving, even as it is an inward reality. There are also people, and this must surely be our aspiration as Christians, people who discover the motivation that comes from baptism, the movement of the Holy Spirit within us, the Spirit of God working together with our spirit to enable us to cry out, Abba, Father. St. Paul sums this up beautifully in Romans chapter 8, verse 16. Such people will recognize and embrace the paschal rhythm of life, the giving and receiving, the dying into new life, always, every day, through Him, with Him, and in Him. We will discover this not by willful effort, not by mastery, but by gift, by God's grace. And our lives more and more become what St. Paul said, I live now, not I, but Christ lives in me.